Good morning, good evening, sorry, it should be. Good evening, everyone. I have to tell you that today on this channel, as in every video, we will fight, of course, against the atmosphere of our world around us. And today we will try to focus on one question. Did Homer, the author of Iliad and Odyssey, that are the literary fundaments, one of the literary fundaments of the civilization, or many civilizations, according to the classification of Toynbee and Felix Konieczny, originated in the Western Hemisphere, especially Europe. So nowadays called, it's not professional and not realistic term, really resembling the diversity of civilization of the Western world, so-called Western civilization, one of the two literary fundament, Iliad and Odyssey. So, did Homer, we come back to this question, have kids? I'm not talking here, I have to start from the very beginning about the biological kids, to whom he could have been a father, but I mean literary kids. Of course, one can say they were some continuators, some people that developed some undeveloped plots of Iliad and Odyssey, or rephrase it, or created alternative versions, and so on and so on. About these people, I do not want to talk. And we know that the historicity of Homer, in my opinion, he existed, and the real authorship of Iliad and Odyssey are debatable since for many centuries. In my opinion, there is nothing to debate, we can follow the tradition. So, the poet Homer was an author of Iliad and Odyssey. I subscribe under this version that when he was younger he created Iliad, when he was older he created Odyssey. There are many arguments for that. One can look for it on his or her own. I encourage to study this controversial topic and very, very interesting. There are some inconsistencies in the plot of Iliad and Odyssey. One can also find them, one can also analyze them. Very interesting conclusions one can make out of it. But Homer's kids, children, I mean, because there are many theories about the possible authorship of Iliad and Odyssey, and these theories do not want to acknowledge these two great works to Homer. One of the theories, firstly proposed by the 19th century classical scholar from England, Samuel Butler, that Odyssey was written by a lady, most likely from Greek aristocracy, of the city or surroundings of the city of modern name Trapani, so Trepanon in Greek, so by the lady of Sicilian Greek origin. We know that the Greeks were living on the Sicily long before classical period of the Greece, so in the relatively deep antiquity, and they stayed there for very long time and developed great culture and waged many wars with Carthaginians and not only. And according to this hypothesis by Samuel Butler, such lady from the most likely aristocratic origin from the city or surroundings of the city of Trepanon wrote Odyssey as a continuation of Iliad. Quite interesting and even appealing hypothesis, but for me only hypothesis, but always intellectual exercises are good. And in 1955, the genius writer, poet, columnist, and great master of the word, so great writer, Robert Graves, British writer, who was also originating from famous von Ranke family, father of modern historiography. He didn't bring shame to the family. He developed many interesting theories and wrote great novels popularizing antiquity among modern societies. And Mr. Graves actually developed further the hypothesis of Mr. Samuel Butler about the authorship of Odyssey that supposedly, according to him, needs to be attributed to the lady who lived in the Greek settlement of the Sicily. He developed further and presented his hypothesis in the form of nice novel entitled Homer's Daughter. Of course, as every novel of Mr. Graves, I recommend this novel to you with clear conscience, despite the fact I really disagree with the hypothesis about the authorship of the Odyssey, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, which is presented and justified as much as possible by Mr. Graves in this book. Some inconsistencies of Odyssey are also mentioned there and analyzed in Iliad, especially Iliad, inconsistencies found in Iliad. Yeah, and the thing is that despite the fact that I do not subscribe under this hypothesis of the female authorship of Odyssey, I really enjoy the novel because it describes very nicely the conditions of Sicilian Greeks, their relation with neighbors and external world, and also relations between them within their own communities. Novel is very elegant, with very nicely constructed plot. There is no boring page, and offers the reader knowledge about the ancient world, plus very interesting, thought-provoking hypothesis that encourages readers to study on their own the possible authorship, or I would need to say to study more the controversial aspects of the two main fundaments of nowadays, in quotation, Western civilization. I don't like this term because it's not so specific as it should be and not so perfect, but to study two main fundaments of the civilization of many Western countries, let's say, and to study controversies around them on their own. And of course, besides that, we get a nice novel to be entertained and also intellectually challenged. So Homer's Daughter by Robert Graves, very good read, thought-provoking, and at the same time entertaining. All the best. Have a nice evening to all of you. Bye.